Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting video with me. Today we are going to learn how to solve quadratic equations by method of factorization. Let's get started. Let's take this example. 6x squared plus x minus 15 equal to 0. This is a very simple way to solve the quadratic equation by method of factorization. So I do this. So what I'm doing is I break this 6 down into its prime factors. So that's 2 times 3. And then I also break the 15 down into its prime factors. So that's 3 times 5 gives me 15. Okay. There's a negative over here. There's a negative attached to the 15, but let's ignore that for now. We'll use it later. So when I do this, I now multiply the numbers, and then I find two of them that when I multiply, I'll get the product of 6 and negative 15. And then when I add, I'll get the middle number here, which is plus 1, because I have plus x. So I'm supposed to get plus 1. Alright, so I can do 3 times 3 gives me 9. And then 2 times 5 gives me 10. So 10 and 9, what do I do to 10 and 9 to give me positive 1? Where is the positive 1 coming from? The middle. The positive 1 is coming from the middle here, where I have plus x. So 10 and 9, so I write my 10 and then 9. So it means that to get positive 1, the 9 should be negative. To proceed, when I get a 10 and negative 9, I'm supposed to change their sign. So this now becomes negative 10 and 9. And then I divide by the first number here, which is 6. That's the coefficient of the s squared. So I divide this by the coefficient of the s squared. So that's over 6 over 6. I simplify this as, this will give me minus 5 over 3. This will also give me 3 over 2. So it means x is equal to minus 5 over 3 and 3 over 2. Let's take another example. I'm sure the more examples you solve, you get this. So example 2. This was example 1. Example 2. Let's say we have 6x squared plus x minus 2 equals 0. So we do the same thing. I multiply the last two numbers. How do I do that? I express them in terms of their prime factors. So 6 here becomes 2 times 3. And then 2, there's 2 here, so I just multiply by 2. Like I said, there's negative here, but let's ignore the negative for now. Later we'll use it. Okay. So now I have, if I multiply this, I get 6. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 2 gives me 12. So which two, the numbers, can I multiply such that when I multiply, I'll get 6 times this negative 2, giving me negative 12. And then when I add, I'll get positive 1. So here I can do 4 and then 3. So that's 4 and 3. How did I get a 4? 2 times 2. The 2 here times the 2 here gave me 4. And then I have 3. So now 4 and 3, what do I do to them to get positive 1? It means that this 3 should be negative. After getting this, then it means that I need to change their signs. So here becomes negative 4, and then here becomes positive 3. And then what do? I will divide by the first number here, which is a coefficient of the x squared. So I divide through by 6, and then this by 6. So this will simplify to give me minus 2 over 3. And it simplifies to give me half. It means that my x is equal to minus 2 over 3, and then x is also equal to half. Let's take another example. Example 3. If I have x squared plus 4x minus 21 equals 0. We are solving this by method of factorization. So what do? I multiply this and then this. So here I have 1, so I ignore that. I have 21. 21 is 3 and 7. So if the prime factors are just 2, you can leave them like that. So 3 and 7. So obviously, you know you are working with 3 and 7. What do you do to 3 and 7 to get positive 4? That means that should be 7 and negative 3. So what do we do next? We change their signs. And then we divide through by the coefficient of the x squared. Here it's 1. So I divide through by 1, I divide through by 1. So my answer will be x is equal to negative 7 or 3. Let's take another example. Let's take x squared plus 3x minus 10 equals 0. So what do? We multiply the coefficient of the x squared by the constant of the last number here, using their prime factors. So here the number is 1, so we ignore that. Now 10. How do we express 10 as a product of its primes? So that will be 2 times 5. And here we have just two numbers. It means that we are going to use 2 and 5. So what do we do to 2 and 5 such that when we add, we can get positive 3? That means you have to do 5 and then negative 2, because 5 plus minus 2 will give us positive 3. And then we go ahead and change their signs. This is positive 5, so it becomes negative 5. And this positive 2, so it becomes positive. This negative 2, so it becomes positive 2. After that, what do? I divide by the coefficient of the x squared. Over here, it's 1. So dividing through by 1, it means that my x is equal to negative 5 or 2. Let's see another example. So that will be example 5. So let's say we have 16x squared minus 10x minus 21 equals 0. So what do we do again? We express these two numbers. So I have 16 here. Expressing 16 as a product of its primes gives me 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 to the power 4 is 16. How about 21? 21 is 3 times 7. Okay, so now I multiply the numbers like that. So let's do, so you can decide to do the whole of this times this. So 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. Now 2 times 7 is 14. So we have 24 and then 14. What do we do to 24 and 14 to get negative 10? So that means that it becomes minus 24 and then 14, because minus 24 plus 14 will give us negative 10. After that, what do? We change their signs. So this becomes positive 24 and this becomes negative 14. And then we divide by the coefficient of the x squared, which is 16. I divide here by 16. So this will simplify to give me 3 over 2. This also simplifies to give me minus 7 over 8. So it means that x is equal to 3 over 2 or minus 7 over 8. But if you have something like this, 5x squared minus x equals 0. For this one, x can factorize. You factorize x out, so you can get 5x minus 1 equals 0. When it happens this way, it means that x is equal to 0 or 5x minus 1 equals 0. So over here, if 5x minus 1 equals 0, then it means that we can send 1 to the other side to get 5x equals 1. Since I'm looking for x, I divide through by 5. So x will be equal to 1 over 5. So x is equal to 1 over 5 or x is equal to 0. So these will be the values of x. So you take note of that. So let's take another example. So if you have 2x squared plus x minus 3 equals 0. So here too, we multiply this using the product of their prime numbers. So 2, so we just write 2, and then minus 3, so we write 3. So now 2 and 3, what do we do to 2 and 3 so that when we add, we can get positive 1? So that becomes 3 and then minus 2. always remember to change their signs after getting the right product. So 3 and minus 2 now becomes minus 3 and then positive 2. What do I do next? I divide by the coefficient of the x squared. So it means x will be equal to minus 3 over 2, or 2 over 2 simplifies as 1. So minus 3 over 2 or 1. Let's take some large values and see how to work around it. So if you have 6y squared minus 109y minus 95 equals 0. So I take the first number and then the last number. 6 can be broken down as 2 times 3. Now 95, the last number ends with 5, so it means that we can use 5. So 5 times what gives us 95? 5 times 19. 19 is also a prime number. So what do we do next? How do we get the numbers to multiply, or the factors to use? We can do 19 times 5. 19 times 5 gives us 95. 2 times 3 gives us 6. There's no way we can manipulate 6 and 95 to get 109. So we cannot multiply this and this. So how about doing 19, these two numbers times 19. So that's 6 times 19. 19 times 6 gives us 114. So we can have 114 and 5 because we can manipulate 114 and 5 to get 109. So what do we do to 114 and 5 to get 109? So that will be minus 114 plus 5. So it means that here will be negative 114 and then here will be positive 5. After that, always remember to change their signs. So this becomes positive 114, this becomes negative 5. And then you divide through by the coefficient of, so here y squared. So this over 6, this over 6. So here y will be equal to 114 divided by 6 gives us 19. And then here is minus 5 over 6. So this becomes our answer. Okay, so for this example, I'm going to write it down and then I'll wait for some minutes for you to solve it. Let's see if you get the right answer. Let's do 10x squared plus 29x minus 21 equals 0. I'll wait for some time for you to do it. I hope you got it right. So what do? We multiply the first number by the last number here using their prime numbers or prime factors. So 10, we break it down as 2 times 5. 21 becomes 3 times 7. Now which two numbers can we multiply? Don't jump into conclusion and say 3 times 5 will give you 15 and then 2 and 7 gives you 14. Well, that will add to give you 29. But remember, there's a negative over here. And when you negate this, there's no way you can get 29. So this wouldn't work. So what can we do? We can now switch the numbers. Since these are the factors, you can always switch them. So since 7 and 2, 7 times 2, and then 3 times 5 did not work, we can do 7 times 5 and then 3 times 2. 7 times 5 gives us 35. 3 times 2 gives us 6. So how can we manipulate 35 and 6 to get 29? So we can do 35 minus 6. 35 minus 6. So here should be minus. When we multiply 35 by negative 6, you will get negative 210, which is 10 times negative 21. And then when you add them, you get a positive 29. So these are the right factors to use. When you get this, what do? You change their signs. So this becomes minus 35. This becomes positive 6. And then what do we do next? We divide by the coefficient of the x squared. So I divide here by 10, I divide here by 10. And then I simplify. So this will simplify to give me minus 7 over 2. And then this also simplifies to give me 3 over 5. So it means that my x is equal to minus 7 over 2 and then 3 over 5. Let me know if you had it correct.
Okay, so a quick one. I'm going to teach you what you have been taught in your schools, how to solve the quadratic equation using the method of factorization. Let's take a question like this. X squared plus 3x minus 10 equal to 0. So what we need to do is to look out for the coefficients of the x squared. In this case, it's 1. And then we look at the last number here, which is negative 10. So we multiply them to get negative 10. Let me just write 10 here. And then I find the factors of 10. What will be the factors? 1, 2, 5, and then 10. So I can do this plus or minus, plus or minus, plus or minus, plus or minus. Alright. So I select two of these factors such that when I multiply, I'll get negative 10, and then when I add, I'll get a positive 3 here. So definitely I can't use 10 and 1. It means I have to use 5 and 2. Okay, so what would I do to 5 and 2? Such that when I multiply, I'll get negative 10, and then when I add, I'll get positive 3. So I can negate the 2 here. So that 5 times minus 2 give me negative 10, and then 5 plus 3, 5 plus minus 2 gives me positive 3. So these are the factors I'll use. And then I go ahead and write the quadratic equation as x squared minus 2x plus 5x minus 10. I mean, you could switch this, whichever way would work. So I group them and then I factorize. X is common here, so x comes out, and I'll have x minus 2. Here too, 5 is common, 5 comes out. We have 5 minus 2. Usually what you have in the bracket here and here will be the same. In some cases they may be different, so when you're representing them, you need to represent all of them. But in this case where they are the same, I just select one of them, and then I put the ones outside also in brackets, like this, equal to 0. So what this means is x minus 2 is equal to 0, or x plus 5 is also equal to 0. So this will give me x equals 2 because I take the minus 2 to the other side. And then this also gives me x equals negative 5 because I'll take the positive 5 to the other side. So this will be my answers. X is equal to 2 or minus 5. Let's take another question. If we have x squared plus 4x minus 21 equals 0, I do the same thing. I look out for the coefficient of the x squared. Here it's 1. I multiply by 21, negative 21, I get negative 21. So let me look for the factors of 21. That should be 1, 3, 7, and 21. So same way, here can be plus or minus, plus or minus, plus or minus, plus or minus. So which two of them will I multiply to give me negative 21 and then add to give me plus 4? So that will be 7 and 3. So what do I do to 7 and 3 to multiply to get negative 21 and then add to get positive 4? It means that the 3 should be negative. And then I rewrite this quadratic equation as x squared. Okay, so x squared plus 7x minus 3x minus 21 equals 0. I group them and then I factorize. X comes out, so I have x plus 7. Minus 3 comes out, here so I have x plus 7. Plus 7 because when I expand this, minus 3 times x will give me minus 3x. Now minus 3 times 7 will give me minus 21. So here is supposed to be plus. This side is supposed to be plus.
then since what's in the bracket is the same, I pick one of them, and then those outside, the x and then the -3, I put them also in one bracket, and everything equals 0. So this means that x plus 7 is equal to 0, or x minus 3 is equal to 0. So x will equal to -7, and in this case s will equal to 3. So this is the way to solve the method of factorization, solving quadratic equation using factorization. I know you are taught this in school. The first method I used is a very easy one, so you can blend the two so that I can always confirm your answers. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more exciting videos. Remember to like, share, and then subscribe. See you in our next video.